In disassembling the lower portion of the machine, remove the 2 thumb screws, remove the head, and remove the beater, making sure to use 2 hands. In disassembling the hopper section, remove the agitator, pulling straight up, disconnect the feed tube from the pump by twisting and pulling forward. Then turn the connector into bottom of the hopper counterclockwise and lift. The pump itself is removed by turning slightly clockwise and pulling forward. Make sure you remove the pump, the shaft, and the pump seal. In disassembling the parts, begin by removing the pivot pin O-ring. Remove the pivot pin from the front door. Pull down the handle and turn it slightly sideways and pull it again. Then use your O-ring removal tool and remove both O-rings from the piston. On the back side of the door, there is 1 large O-ring you'll remove. For the beater, you have 1 beater seal, an idler that runs down the middle of the beater, an end pusher, and 3 scraper blades. To remove the blades, twist out, and they will come loose from their hooks. On the pump, you have the pump shaft, the pump seal, the pickup tube that you will turn to remove, a pressure cap and spring, and 1 O-ring around the pickup tube that you will remove with your O-ring remover. There are 2 thumb screws that you will remove. Then separate the halves, and you will have 1 O-ring around the middle, a drive gear, and a driven gear. On the feed tube, you have 2 O-rings, 1 at one end and 1 at the other end. After you have washed your parts, you will then reassemble them. You will place your large O-ring back into the back side of the door. With any O-ring on the machine, clean the O-ring, reinstall it, and lube only the exposed portion. You have 2 O-rings on the piston, which you will slide back into place and lube the exposed portions. Slide the piston back into the front door, push the handle back into the piston, reinsert the pivot pin, then place the O-ring on the end of the pivot pin to keep it locked in place. That gives you your dispense head. As you are reassembling your beater, make sure to inspect your parts, checking the seal for any signs of wear or damage. If none are found, you will lube the interior portions and only the interior portions, and it is not necessary to lube the exterior. You will inspect your blades for signs of wear and should be flat on one side, angled on the other. If you find them angling back on what should be the flat side, it's a sign that your blade is worn out and should be replaced. You'll also have the round bumpers on the top. These should be nicely round and domed over. If they appear to be pushed flat, that's another sign that the blade is worn and should be replaced. Inspect all 3 blades. If no defect is found, you can reinstall them on the beater. The blades have indentions on one side so they can only fit in one way. You'll start the indention under the hooks and twist down. All 3 blades are identical, so it does not matter what blade gets put where. You will reinstall your end pusher. There's a cutout in the end of the beater, a notch in the end pusher itself. Those should line up to allow the end pusher to properly be seated, and the idler slid back down the middle. The beater should now be reassembled. For the pump, you will replace your driven gear and drive gear. The gears are set so that they will only go in one direction. They will not fit if you attempt to put them in backwards. Place the O-ring around the middle. Lube the exposed portion and put both halves back together. The holes in the halves are drilled in different sizes, and there is a shoulder on one of the screws in the back half, so if you attempt to put them on wrong, it will not fit. The unit is designed to guide you to put everything back correctly. Put your thumb screws back on using a paper towel if needed to screw tightly. Put the pressure cap back in. Replace spring. Put O-ring back on the pickup tube, then lube the exposed portion. There is a cutout in the pickup tube that lines up with its pin. That allows you to get below the pin. Then the pin locks it into place. You will place the selector at whatever has been chosen for your product. Reinstall the pump seal. This is the only seal on the machine that will be lubed on all surfaces. It will be placed in the back of the pump. Then the pump shaft will be put into place. The pump shaft has 2 black rings around it which are ceramic, and they are used because the ceramic deals with friction better than steel and adds to the life of the shaft. Because they're ceramic, please use care when handling this shaft, as dropping it can damage the ceramic, and if it is chipped, it will destroy the seal and need replacement. For the feed tube, you will reinstall the O-rings, then lube the exposed portions. When reassembling the hopper section, we will reinstall the agitator, making sure that the metal square is visible through the top of the agitator housing. Reinstalling the pump, there is a hook on the back side of the pump that should catch the stud at the back of the hopper that holds the pump securely in place. Slide the pump back into place, lock the hook against the retaining stud, place the feed tube back into the hopper, then push down and turn toward the rear of the machine, making sure it locks into place. There is a cutout on the side of the upper connector of the feed tube that will line up with the retaining pin. Then twist it upward to lock the feed tube to the front of the pump. That is your complete hopper section reassembly. Reassembling the cylinder section, using both hands, slide the beater back into place, making sure that it seats all the way back in. When the 4 white feet of the end pusher are inside the metal cylinder, that is as far back as it will go. The dispense head is then put back on. The message that is currently on screen will disappear. Retighten the thumb screws. Once more, you can use a paper towel to completely tighten the thumb screws. Knowing the lubricant on your hands can make them feel tight, even though they may not be. That completes the cylinder section reassembly. For sanitizing the machine, we will pour in the sanitizing solution. Take the cylinder brush and begin moving the sanitizer around the inside of the hopper. You will do this for 2 minutes, making sure the sanitizing solution touches every place that mix could possibly touch. After the 2 minutes, remove the feed tube from the pump and allow the sanitizer to drain down into the cylinder. The gurgling noise in the hopper indicated that the sanitizer is going into the cylinder. When the gurgling sound stops, you will know that your cylinder is full. At that time, you will press your agitation button. It will begin moving the sanitizer around the cylinder and drawing through the pump. Do this for 2 minutes. Every time you press the center lock button, the unit will operate for 30 seconds. So you will press a total of 4 times to allow 2 minutes of agitation. After those 2 minutes, reinstall the feed tube. Press the center lock button again and allow the agitation to continue for another 2 minutes. This will allow sanitized water to come out of the weep holes in the pump, and again allow sanitizer to touch any place that mix could possibly go. This again will require 4 presses of the center lock button. Place a catch receptacle under the dispense head. Being a pump unit, your cylinder is pressurized, so hold the receptacle up and at an angle before pulling the handle, as the sanitizer will spray outward. You will then press the center lock button and release. This will begin pumping out sanitizer. The sanitizer is traveling down the inside of the feed tube from the hopper, so we will pump out the sanitizer using the center lock button for 2 minutes. After pumping out the sanitizer for 2 minutes, once more remove the feed tube. Be certain that you've let the pressure off of the cylinder before removing the feed tube from the top of the hopper. Otherwise, the pressure will leak up into the hopper and spray out sanitized water. At that point, we will put our catch receptacle back under the dispense head and allow gravity to drain out the remainder of the sanitizer. Once the majority of the sanitizer has been emptied and no more is coming out from the handle, you will put a catch receptacle underneath and begin pouring in the mix. As it comes through, it will push out any remaining sanitized water. When it is coming out as just mix, you will close your handle and continue filling. Once you have poured your mix in, press the lock button 1 time, which will activate the beater and the pump. It assures us that the pump is properly functioning. It also assures us that the cylinder is completely filled and there is no more gurgling coming from the fill port. We will then reinstall the feed tube, making certain it is locked into place, reattach it to the pump, and the unit is now sanitized and loaded.